We're excavating at Norham Castle. It's the first of a series of 4 excavations this year. We had some geophysics done in 2012. The geophysicists suggested to us that there may be a Scottish siege work just behind us where this trench is, and we had to come and examine that. We've come to the conclusion it doesn't exist. It's a confluence of other features, possibly geological and some cultivation. But we have discovered a large area of lead casting, probably melting and casting lead objects, particularly shot, but we've also had one domestic object, a spindle whorl as well. Lots of lead waste, no bits of mould, unfortunately. It would have been nice to have some mould for these objects, but definitely lead waste and the rubbish that's cut off after a lead object's been cast. Underneath it all, there are a series of buildings which we're never fully going to understand. We don't see enough of them. They're obscured by the lead working area on top of it, so we're characterising those the best we can, but we're not going to get to the bottom of them during this 10-day season. Most of the interesting finds from the trench just behind me here have been lead objects, a nice arquebus ball unfinished with its casting marks still on it, which presumably dates till post 1514 when Henry VIII paid to have the castle modified and brought all the latest weaponry in. In amongst all of the rubbish, we're finding tiny little, what you might call marbles of lead, which are bits of lead that have sparked off as they've been poured into the mould and then they just lie around in the soil. So it's all the classic evidence of lead casting. Mixed into that, we've then had one iron object, a horseshoe, late in the day, which is definitely from the period of the lead casting. It's down in amongst all the lead rubbish. It's not a modern addition, which suggests that we may have full-on blacksmithing present. Ultimately, we're only going to get an answer about that when we process the soil that we've taken to see if there's tiny fragments of iron that we call hammer scale, which effectively, when the blacksmith hits an iron object, little bits fly off and they go onto the floor and mix into the soil. So we'll have to post-process all of the soil that we've taken and see if there's that kind of evidence there as well. Trench 1, it's a single issue trench. It's simply to find out whether there's any sort of structure, a wall or a defensive structure on the Dean edge, and we found what we think is a palisade ditch. A palisade being a wooden wall made from substantial timbers. They could have stood 6 or 8 feet high from the ground, and just behind it a very, very thin skim of soil, which is what we believe to be the last vestiges of a bank, an earth bank that was built up behind this wooden wall. So what that suggests is there was quite a substantial defensive structure along the Dean edge, at some point making this field part of the defensive circuit of the castle. Really, to prove that that is what we think it is, we should have dug another trench 100 metres down the way and another trench 100 metres up the way and found the same results all along the edge, but resources prevent that, unfortunately. So trench 3, we were looking for part of this putative siege work that the geophysicists identified. We're coming to the conclusion that the arm identified in the geophysics of the siege work that trench 3 was targeted at is actually possibly geological. We can't find any evidence for it on the ground at all. There are interesting things in there. There are some plough strikes which could be quite recent. There's a possible hearth. It's a difficult kind of feature to interpret, so we've recorded it very heavily, taken a lot of samples out of it, and we'll try and disentangle that in the laboratory effectively afterwards. But no sign of the western arm of this feature, which is visible, a V-shaped feature visible on the geophysics. The gradiometry in the geophysics, it measures the Earth's magnetic field effectively, and changes in the Earth's magnetic field identified 2 large anomalies. Trench 1 behind us was targeted at the eastern of these 2 massive magnetic anomalies, and the lead working area, which is effectively circular in form, is what was causing that anomaly. So we've explained the geophysics. I'm happy that we understand what's causing the results of the geophysics now. We've limited the volunteer numbers on site this particular excavation to 22 per day. Perhaps 50% of all of the volunteers who've been through, a lot of them just for a day or two, are new people who are learning the skills for the first time, but they'll come back on other excavations with the skills they've learned here. As ever, we'll be putting out requests for volunteers to sign up to the projects in the coming next few days. Hopefully the volunteers will keep coming. We're going to find good things, answer good questions relating to the Battle of Flodden and the campaign.